Hi, welcome to the second part of video data science with Python. And today we will look at group by and column modification, concatenating and merging data, and writing data to an Excel file or CSV file. So let's start with group by and column modification. Grouping data is a powerful way to aggregate and summarize information based on one or more columns. In this chapter, we will explore how to use group by to perform aggregations like sums, means, and counts, and we'll also look at modifying columns within groups to create meaningful insights. And for that, we will group the data frame by weather condition and provide descriptive statistics for the ship type and route types columns within each group. And for that, we are taking our data frame, df. Then we want to group by weather condition. And then we are saying we want to look at the columns ship type and route type. And then we want to describe them to get the basic statistics. And then here you can see we have grouped the ship type and route type by the weather condition. Here we can see in the left column the weather condition. We have calm, moderate, and rough. And then we see the first part is belong to the ship type. So we get for ship type a count for each weather condition, how many unique levels we have, and what is the highest level with the highest frequency for each weather condition, and then how often this level. When we get the same information for route type. Now what we can do is, when we see here, we have like in the ship type and route type, like a multi-index column. And what we can do is, then we can flatten those names into one row. That's what we're going to do next. So for that, to flatten the multi-index, we're going to define a new data frame. And we define it as the group by with the describe. So then we're taking the columns of this new data frame and said, okay, this is like we get the new value. Say that's a series of, we are joining the multi-index by an underscore. Here we join it by the underscore, and we gave into joining the column names from the previous data frame. And then we iterate through the whole column names. For col in df new point columns. Okay, and then we can look at the data frame. When we see here that the multi-index column name is now flattened, so we get the ship type, underscore, then the count, same for unique, top frequency, and the same for the route type. And as you see, I've added here some comments for the code, so we know what you're going to do here. Next, we want to look at column modification. And here what we're going to do, we define a new column in our data frame. Let's call it deviation speed over ground knots. And we will calculate here now the deviation of the speed over ground knots by the data we have given already by our data frame. So looking at df, we take the speed over ground knots, and we are subtracting the speed over ground knots, the mean from it. Okay, now it's an error, we look at it. I had here a typo. It is not called speed over ground knots with a capital K, but with a small k, so I've changed it here. Okay, now it runs. Now let's look at the data frame. And we can see here on the right, we have now here the deviation speed over ground knots. So that's why we do a column modification. And of course, you could do much more advanced stuff with it. So we can also sort the data frame by values. Sorting the data frame, we're taking our data frame df, sorting by values. For example, we can take the date, and when we say scanning equals true or false, let's say for example false. Now we can see that the table is now sorted by the date in the scanning false order. And of course, what you see here is now the index has also changed. It doesn't reassign the index. So to get like the normal index starting from here to from 0, 1, 2, 3, etc., we have to reset the index here. So reset index, drop equals true. Now we can see here we have now also the index resetted. Now to concatenating and merging data. Often data are coming from multiple sources, and then we need to combine them, and that's what we're going to do here. So first we're defining two data frames. For example, PD data frame, let's say column ID with values 1, 2, 3. And then we take one column name with the values Christine, Liv, and Gracie. Okay, so there's one data frame. When we copy this data frame, define a new data frame, and move different values. We take, for example, the IDs 4 and 5 only, and the names of Anna and okay. Now if we find them, let's look at those data. df1 looks like that, and df2 df2. Okay, now you see those two data frames, df1, df2. What we want to do is now we want to concatenating those two data frames. And for that, we'll just concatenate the two data frames. We're going to do this along the rows by default. So we use df combined is equals pd concat, and then we give in the first data frame and the second data frame, and we have to do this in brackets. Okay, now we're getting these values, and let's look at the data frame. And then you can see here, it's now the concatenated data frame, all those values, and what we see is the index are not right, so we have to change that. And for changing that, we're just resetting the index, reset index equals drop equals true. Now you can see the index is resetted. Now I want to do merge data. So we again define first two data frames. Let's call it df employees pd data frame and employee ID 1, 2, 3. Some names, I take the same names as above. Okay, and for the second data frame, just copy the data here, and I call it df departments, and what we want to give is like for employee ID stays. So we take some employer IDs, for example 2, 3, and 4, and now with some departments like HR, IT, and management. And what we want to do is now look at those two data sets. Okay, now we have two datasets, employees with employee ID and the names of each employee. And then we have like a dataset of departments, employee ID, and where those employees with this employee ID works in which department. And now we want to merge those datasets so that we have like here on the right side, a third column with the department. Yeah, so we want employee ID 1, Christine, and then deploy department she works. Now this is not here defined, so here should be like value none. For employee ID 2, it's Liv, and she works in the department HR, so here should be stand HR. Okay, so for this we are going to define a merge data frame and say pd.merge. Then we give our employees, then the departments, When we want to say merge rows data on the employee ID. This is important that those two data frames have like one column that's the same we want to merge them on. And we want to say how we want to merge them. And then we have two different kinds of way. Let's look at what left is doing. Now let's print it, merged. What we can see is exactly that what we have, what we're expecting to happen. We have like the employee IDs 1, 2, 3, which were defined here above, Christian, Liv, and Gracie. And now it's a third column, which department we are working. That's one way what we can do. Then what we can do is also in how we can say inner. And we have like an inner join. This is only like an intersection between those two data frames. So we only have those rows where for each employee ID the name is defined. So since in employee ID in our above data frame, one is here not defined in the departments data frame, and for the fourth employee, there's no employee listed here, so we only chase what's in both data frames. Yeah, in this case only 2 and 3. That's what inner does. Then we have right. So this makes a data frame based on the right side, so data frame departments. Yeah, so we get here the employee ID 2, 3, 4. So we're taking as the basis like the departments data frame here. And when we look, okay, let's add those data from the employees to this department data frame. Okay, and then we have the last one is outer. And then we see it's all data frame merged together. Yeah, so we get for all employee IDs, all the data we have. And this is probably the most common one, I would say, to use at the beginning to merge all data together, and then later make again a second pre-processing where you want to define it more specific. Okay, now the last we want to write data to an Excel file. And so let's say we want to save data frame to Excel. What we take, for example, is like the merge data, what we have defined before, merge.to Excel, and then we say, okay, we name it the Excel file employee.csv.xlsx. For Excel, we say index to false, and this means that we don't want in the Excel file like the index column, since Excel has already an index column integrated. And now we are saving it. Okay, and now here in my working file, and here's also the employee Excel sheet. Now I'm opening it. And now you can see here the data what we have saved in the table. Yeah, this can become very handy if you're working with data and you want to make some Excel files, Excel sheets. Okay, now I can close it. Okay, again to our file, and yeah, of course you can do the same for like CSV file. You can just write to CSV. Then again here file name employee.csv. Okay, it's just the same. Okay, that's it for this tutorial.